Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another random review. Today we're going to go to the year 2020 and Japan, and this is Woman of the Photographs, directed by Takashi Kushida, who's done one or two little films. One of his shorts, Voice, is included in this Blu-ray, which is a Region A Blu-ray. It stars Hideki Nagai as a photographer, who reminds me of a non-Japanese actor so much, and I cannot think of who he reminds me of. He's got a little bit of Henry Silva about him, but there's somebody else he really reminds me of, and I cannot think of who it is. It also stars Itsuki Otake and a nice little supporting character, Toshiaki Inomata, but it's really a two-headed beast. This was first brought to my attention by Hoos from A Touch of Film. You can go over to his channel, I'm sure he's got a video where he talks about it. I don't know whether the Asian Film Enthusiast has done a review of this as well. You can go over to his channel as well. Two excellent channels. As I said, this is a Region A Blu-ray. The print looks really nice, as well as English subtitles. There's also Spanish subtitles. It's got some interviews with the cast and crew, and it has 3 trailers. Sorry, it is actually a Region All Blu-ray. Forgive me for suggesting it was a Region A. It's actually an all region, which is good. So this is pretty low budget film, even though, as I said, it looks really nice. A small cast. There's only really 3 kind of main characters, if you will. And it's about a photographer, runs a small business that's been in the family 50 years. And he likes taking pictures of insects in his spare time. He has a pet praying mantis. The praying mantis is a running theme, because obviously the male is beheaded and eaten by the female. Don't get any ideas. And he gets a lot of business from a funeral director who works as a shop just up the road from him, who's played by Inomata. He kind of digitally alters pictures to do the framed picture that you get on Japanese funerals. But he also takes portrait shots. There's a kind of running character, a woman who is still attractive, but perhaps not as stunningly attractive as some Japanese women, and she is constantly kind of coming back to get the photographer to alter her face, to bring her cheekbones in and make her waist a little bit smaller and improve her eyes and make her skin clearer. And again, she's trying to attract a mate, just like a praying mantis. And it's more her, the kind of theme with her is, it doesn't matter what you are in reality. People will adjust their brain to the image of you, and it doesn't necessarily have to match exactly with the reality of you. I mean, obviously online dating is famous for people putting filters on their faces, or taking a picture from 1982 and pretending that's the picture they are, or People have put weight on in the last 2 months, but then take a photo from 2 years ago and put it on their profile. So it's her character is all about that. The funeral director has his own little story, which I won't go into, but he's been single for a while for reasons, and kind of just drinks himself to sleep every night. But the photographer, when he's out and about taking his insects, he comes across a woman, not literally, he comes across a woman up a tree, as you do. Maybe it's Japan, you're out for a walk and there's women up trees all the time. But she seems to have either fallen asleep and hurt herself or fallen off a branch onto another branch and knocked herself out. So she's a little bit worse for wear. She's got a couple of scars on her face and her chest and her arm. And he ends up giving her a lift home, and she is an ex-ballet dancer or an ex-dancer who is on social media. It's 2020 after all, and takes a photograph of herself every day for her followers. She's also sponsored by like a beauty company or something, but her likes and follows and comments are dwindling a bit, so there's kind of pressure on her to increase her following, because again, the people's image of her is perhaps not the reality of her. So again, the film is full of themes that we can all kind of identify with. The face that we kind of show the public, and then the face, or true face, which is more hideous than this. So they kind of form a relationship, a kind of working relationship. The photographer doesn't say much, he's fairly solitary. I can kind of identify with him a lot more than I can identify with a beautiful female dancer who's on social media. And he takes pictures of her, but he edits out the scars or the wound. There is a comment on the front of the Blu-ray that says it's a direct descendant of David Cronenberg. I mean, every film that is kind of about how technology changes us, or our true face, is always kind of, it's a bit Cronenberg. And obviously once you start talking about wounds, and people touching wounds and fingering wounds, it's back to old Croners. But just such as his influence, and his kind of being ahead of the curve at all times. Anytime you're talking about wounds, Cronenberg's usually mentioned. And she sees her social media presence kind of dwindling, and she, in the company of this woman who wants to be adjusted facially, and her body as well to some extent, she starts questioning who she is as a person. Is she this perfect image that she puts on her social media, or is she a little bit more bruised and damaged? And then she gets to the point where she doesn't want the photographer to cover up her wounds, and strangely enough, her social media presence goes through the roof because people find the images more identifiable, you know, because we're all flawed and have gaping open wounds on our chests. But obviously that's not the end of the story. Again, there's lots of wonderful close-ups of praying mantises eating meat. Again, there's not a lot of dialogue, certainly not from the photographer, which is nice. I mean, obviously it's Japanese, so even 89 minutes, there's nothing rushed about it, but it doesn't feel that it needs to be rushed. Again, you know, all three characters have kind of got their own little mysteries, and they don't, obviously, within 5 minutes of meeting each other, they don't like just blurt out their entire life history, as some films tend to have characters doing. So it's beautifully paced, even though again it's only 89 minutes. You feel as though you're amongst friends, and it's just a beautiful little film. Again, it's obviously any film that's about photography or the image. It's a classic kind of subject matter for cinema itself, and it's just done rather beautifully. It's one of those that's in the category of almost film of the year, because it is an excellent film. It's perhaps not to everybody's taste, but certainly it's well worth a visit. Again, it's another one in the long line of kind of man in a room films, and a very routined character. You know, he goes for a bath every day in the local baths, and again it's about a character entering into this ordered world, and kind of changing things. Everybody's kind of looking for some solace in their place in the world, and it's just beautifully done, beautifully acted. But if you can give me answers in a postcard of who this actor reminds you of a non-Japanese actor, because it's really annoying. Again, he's got a bit of Henry Silva, but there's somebody else that he really reminds me of, and I cannot think who it is. So thanks very much for watching this fairly random review of Women of the Photographs. Yes, a modern film from 2020. Hard to believe it's already 5 years old. But thanks very much for watching. Please let me know if you've seen Women of the Photographs and what you think of it. And hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell